Selamünaleyküm abi.
Okay, alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing? Are you alright?
Alhamdulillah, everything is alright. How about you?
I'm doing well, Alhamdulillah. Everything is going fine with me. Abi inshallah, coming to our broadcast, I just mentioned about how it's going our broadcast. Our broadcast will be held in two different sections. At the first, we'll talk about general issue as a conversation. The second one, I'll take our audience question, and inshallah you'll answer them. We start our conversation. Could you please tell us about yourself? Could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Lavdrim Ceka, and as you mentioned, I come from Albania. Actually from the north of Albania, but we live in the capital in Tirana. And I came to Turkey about 6 years ago when I came to start my bachelor studies. Actually, I had started my bachelor studies back in Albania. I was studying mechatronics engineering. And well, the things were not going very well for me there. So I was looking for new opportunity, new place. And what happens is that just that summer, there was this, the coup d'etat in Egypt. And I got interested more and more in politics. So I was thinking, okay, when I was thinking about studying somewhere abroad, I said, okay, I'll change from engineering to something else, probably history, psychology, or political sciences, something like that. So to my mind came up Turkey, and political sciences is where I found myself. So there was this, it's very interesting actually how I got to come to Turkey. So if our viewers know about the Genç İDSB Young UNIV gatherings,
Yeah.
so the 2013 one was back in Albania. So that's where I got to know with İDSB and with other friends who were, at the gathering there. So I had one friend from Kosovo who was studying actually in Istanbul at Şehir University. And he posted on Facebook that there were scholarships at Şehir University. And I just applied from the link there that he shared on Facebook, and alhamdulillah, I got the scholarship. So that is very interesting. I mean, somehow I am grateful to having, known İDSB, because through İDSB I actually got to create the connections and contacts for it.
Yeah. Actually,
So yeah,
the benefit part of your life.
alhamdulillah. I mean, so yeah, I came back in 2014 and I studied my bachelor's at the Political Science International Relations Department at Şehir University. Then later on, I started double major in history. As an Albanian coming from ex-Ottoman Empire lands, I got interested on those issues. So yeah, I started my double major in history. I mean, we had great professors there, history professors. So I had this chance and opportunity. I finished my bachelor degree in 2018 and then started my MA at Ibn Haldun University, same department, Political Sciences and International Relations. And inshallah, I'm about to, finish my thesis soon
Inshallah.
and finish it.
When do you expect to finish your studies, inshallah?
Yeah, well, that is, when we often joke, there are some issues. For example, you don't ask a lady for her age. You don't ask a person male for his salary, and you don't ask a student for his grades.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that's what we say. But inshallah, I'm planning to finish it this summer by August, so I can, meet the deadlines to start my PhD, inshallah, by the, fall semester.
Inshallah, abi. By the way, abi, how many languages can you speak?
Well, when I want to joke, I say that I can speak 5-6 languages, but to be honest, I can speak just like 3 languages probably. So Albanian is my native language, English, which I've been like learning and studying English since around 11-12 years. And yeah, Turkish. Unfortunately, I don't have an academic Turkish. I mean, I wasn't able to do the prep school due to, having a lot of classes as I got the double major and so on. And my classes have always been in English. But thanks God, I can read every news without a problem. So I can get updated when it is allowed to go outside and when it is not allowed to go outside.
Then you're done, abi.
Yeah, yeah.
Even some people without their origins, they are Turkish. They don't properly speak, or sometimes you made some problem with our language because some additional language can not be properly said. So
Yeah.
I think it's also a really good step for you because most of our Turkish brothers, we say, learning English is something quite difficult for us. But I asked this question for you very consciously, and I just want to learn how did you feel like talking Turkish with your friend, and because as you know, the words orders of sentence is totally different to
Yeah, definitely.
English, and that's why we are not we cannot easily talk or learn another language.
Well, I have experience with English teaching back in Albania and some experience here in Turkey. But what I've, figured out with Turkish people in general when they are trying to learn English or any other foreign language is that they are afraid of making mistakes. So they kind of step back, or pulled back a little bit when they are talking or chatting with other people. They feel insecure. But I don't know why or how, but I didn't have this problem with Turkish. I mean, in every sentence that I make, I know that there are tens of mistakes, but still I try to speak up, my mind or whatever I want to say. And people can get you, can understand you what you are saying. I mean, no matter how many mistakes you make in any language that you are trying to learn, I mean, the native speakers of that language can understand you. And the good thing is that often they try to help you how to, how to improve your own language. I mean, the language you are learning. Fortunately for me, I mean, being that I was doing a double major in history, I was forced somehow to learn even Ottoman, script, Ottoman Turkish. So that was a good thing to some extent because it forced me more to delve into Turkish. And also many historical terms are in Turkish, differently from, political sciences or international relations. Many historical terms are in Turkish, so that's something that has helped me these days for my Turkish.
Is there any common words between Turkish and Albanian?
Yeah, there are plenty. There are plenty of them. I mean, some consider that there are around 3,000 to 5,000. I mean, in the Balkans, every language has, similar words with Turkish since the Ottoman Empire leftovers. They say that Serbia has the most, around 5,000, but Albania and Kosovo have also very much. I would say Kosovo has more than Albania, or Macedonia. Albanians living in Macedonia use more of these words. Unfortunately, in Albania, these words have been lost around 1970s, as there were reforms by our Communist Party to change, the system, the language. So there was a little bit problem. They tried to exclude all these words. But when when I'm trying to read some old newspapers or old journals in Albanian from 1930s, 1920s, I really enjoy, those old words, and I can figure out really, the Turkish expressions, Turkish words, Ottoman words that are used there, that still were used even after Ottoman Empire. But that got lost with the time passing, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah, this was our problem as well. Yeah. How about our Albanian Muslim brother and sister? How do they live in there, and how is their daily routine in the?
So.
I mean, how many Muslim people nowadays are living in Albania, and what's the situation nowadays in there?
The Albanian population, there are many interesting facts about, the population in Albania, that even Albanians often are surprised and make jokes out of them. And I make jokes out of these things pretty much. So the official account of population is 2.8 million, whereas for elections, 3.5 million can vote.
Oh.
So more people can vote than there are actually people living in Albania. This is because the census, the population, counting, happens only for the people that are living, not for the immigrants. And when during communism in Albania, Albanians were not allowed to go abroad, or people were not allowed to come outside in Albania. So the population was around 4 million. But once the communism system fell apart, 1990s, the population was 4 million. Now it is 2.8 million. So you can consider even the population increase. In total, the Albanians can be around 4.5 million, as Albanian political borders. But around 2 million, 1.5 million, 2 million are abroad. So if we might make the calculations, officially and unofficially, these are two different things. So when Albania separated from Ottoman Empire in around 1912, there were around 70% Muslim and 30% Christian, non-Muslim, mostly Orthodox and Catholics. This is approximately the same percentage, even nowadays. Majority of the people think that this is the same percentage, but officially Albanian Muslims make 56%. And out of this 100%, 14% did not declare their religion because there was something political happening. So Albanians, because it was written together, the religion and the nationality. And so as we had problems with, still we have problems with Greece in the south, many people decided not to declare their ethnicity or their religion. Nevertheless, approximately it is the same. These are some technical details, but nevertheless, it's approximately the same. So around 70% is Muslim, and the other percent is Christian, Orthodox, and Catholic mostly. Oh, and no matter, of course, there are many things that change here when it comes to the presence of Islam in the public, or how effective and how powerful, let's say, are the Muslims in the public, in the politics and stuff. That's another issue that doesn't go by the numbers. So no matter the fact that numbers are high, the presence of Islam is very low, very little in the public, compared to Turkey, if we might say so.
I see. By the way, you said your journey to coming to Turkey is just started with our international youth gathering organized in Albania. And what was your expectation before coming to Turkey, and how do you feel about Turkey and Turkish people nowadays, as you are an international student and also international people who are living in Turkey nowadays?
Well, as I said, to be honest with you, I had almost no expectations pretty much from Turkey when I first came. Like, I was trying to just get away from my unsuccessful entertainment in Albania, as I said. Because one of the issues happening in Albania is that the corruption or bribery, or rishvet as they say in Turkish, is very widespread everywhere, unfortunately. So one of the reasons I left was that, and I thought in Turkey it would be better in that aspect, which I found it to be true. There is no active bribery, for example, in universities or in many places compared to Albania. So if you get stopped by police, you can give them, let's say, 100 Turkish liras and they let you pass without a fee or something like that. Or in universities, you can give 100 euro to professor and he can pass you if you are failing one exam or one class. These things don't happen in Turkey, which is a great thing, I think. So in this aspect, I was just looking forward to finding some, comfortable place and some place that can offer me opportunities in my academic aspects or prospects that I had, which actually I found very well. Şehir University is a very qualitative university, and professors there are, very, very good professors. And in both, political department and political sciences department and history department, there are very famous and renowned professors and historians in Turkey, and not only, but also in the world. So I found myself very comfortable when it comes to my main aim, the academic life. Other than that, Turkish people were really, I got surprised, and it's very interesting because they love Albanians, and they are very, fond of Albanians. They like Albanians very much, and not only Albanians, foreigners in general, and they're very helpful. There hasn't been any issue or any problem that I had that it couldn't be solved some way or another. So yeah, to be honest, I don't repent for coming here.
Actually, this is what make us so special rather than in international or people, because we always try to find any way to try and solve it very easy and proper way.
Yeah,
I'm really sure you've witnessed so many, even living in Turkey until now.
definitely, definitely. I mean, everything has been solved one way or another. I often say to when my Albanian friends ask, "How is your life going there? How is your financial situation?" and stuff like that, and I say that I don't know. I mean, Turkey has its own baraka. So Turkey has its own, the good side of it. People are generous. People are helpful. And when they say, "How is that possible?" I don't know. I say, probably it's because of the cats.
Yeah.
Or because of the animals. I mean, there is always you see animal food on the corners in winter, in summer, everywhere. So I think it's the sadaqah of the people for the animals that is actually keeping the barakat of Turkey.
Yeah, that might be the reason why we are so generous. By the way, do you see any similarities between Albanian and Turkish people?
Being stubborn is one of them, I think. A lot of people in Turkey say like Arnavutluk'da, Arnavutluk'da, the Albanian angriness or stubbornness. Yeah, I think to some extent that's true very much. There is even a short video, I think, on YouTube, like 2 minutes video from Elveda Rumeli TV series. I mean, how this word came, Arnavutluk'da. So it explains like during Ottoman Empire, there was the state made a bridge somewhere in Albania and put a man at the entrance of the bridge to collect taxes in order to pass the bridge. So this Albanian guy didn't want to pay the money, and he walked around the river for 2 days and nights and crossed the river in a corner that he didn't need to pay the money. So that's how it comes like Arnavutluk'da.
Yeah, actually.
They tell it like this. Well, that's interesting because these are things that you first hear when you go somebody. I mean, the perceptions of those people about your own country when they go abroad. But yeah, there are very much commonalities. The thing that strikes me more is that Turkish people love Albanians so much. A little bit, unfortunately, or I don't know, different from Albanians. Albanians is not that they like the Turkish people that much, to be honest. This can be said because of our experience with Turkish people and Turkish people experience with Albanians have been different. For example, Albanians experience with Turkish people is not very much touchable. I mean, especially these last 100 years during communism period. And of course, the post, independence period, the people have tried to vilify Ottoman Empire and Turkish Republic that came out of Ottoman Empire. Historians have tried to vilify, and especially the communist regime has tried to vilify, to make enemies with everyone possible during those communist years. So many Albanians thought like, okay, Turkey equals Ottoman Empire equals invaders and so on. So that's been kind of little bit problem. And contrary, Turkey has had many contacts with Albanians, especially mostly I would say Albanians from Kosovo and from Macedonia, who have escaped from Yugoslavian regime and came to Turkey. So they've had good contacts with Albanians from these territories and know that Albanians are great people. So they have friendship a lot and very much respect towards Albanians. And me as an Albanian from political Albania get surprised how is that possible at a time when we kind of hate Turkish people. But that is something that is changing, alhamdulillah. I mean, fortunately, I think it's a good thing because, you cannot hate people that are different from people 100 years ago, the worst case. Or you cannot hate people that you kind of never met. So these things are changing. Every day, the perception changes on many people.
Alhamdulillah, that's very nice to hear that this perception is going to change.
Often, even Turkish people often get surprised, like, how come you hate us? We love you. I mean, well, this is what our communist historiography has taught us to do. I mean, and still there have been books very lately, that historical books or textbooks that kind of teach hatred towards other people, towards Greeks, Serbians, towards Turks, still the Turkish hordes or negative words towards, but things change with time passing.
Actually, abi, hopefully, as you studied here as political science and history, that would be a great leader for you to change this perception.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that if you are an impartial historian or you want to bring to light some facts as impartial facts, these are things that actually should come at the forefront. I mean, if there is no conflicts between the people, then there should not be hatred. I mean, I would say the same thing for the Serbian or Greek people, but, when you are having conflicts with them, you cannot say that, look, we have to be enemies we have to be friends if they are still being as enemies. But for Turkey, we cannot really say that Turkey actually is behaving as enemies towards Albania. So in this aspect, I think that people should, treat it more carefully, should review their stand towards, the Turkish people, Turkeys in general. But when it comes to having holiday in Turkey, we love Turkey. We love Antalya, Bodrum, Izmir.
It's a Turkish food.
Yeah, definitely. There's no Turkish food. It's Albanian food. I mean, almost everything is similar, so we don't consider it as different food. I mean, the only thing that I suffered when I came first to Turkey for 2 weeks was the spices. Because in Albania, we don't use much spices. So like for 2 weeks, my mouth was like aching because of the spices. But other than that, I mean, all the foods are like the same, very little differences.
Yeah, but hopefully you can find food without spicy.
Oh no, I'm used with it now. I have no issues with it now. It was just the first 2 weeks.
That's how the effect of changing in your life.
Yeah.
Mashallah abi. Abi, as you know, as of the mid of March, we are being unlocked down. How did you manage to time? Actually, how have you been managed to time to spend these unprecedented coronavirus days?
Oh well, that's been the most difficult part of my life, I would say. I mean, these weeks, these days, because back in Albania we have private houses, so we have the garden. The neighborhoods are not that loudly and strict. You can go out easily. But here in Istanbul, I mean, especially if you are living in Fatih, it's a little bit difficult because you almost have no private houses, so you cannot go outside. The air is not the same, inside and outside. So it's been kind of a nightmare for me in that aspect. But trying to keep my mental health alive.
Yeah.
Mostly what I've been doing is like the same routine that I had before that. I mean, except of doing things face to face, I went online. I mean, the classes switched to the online platform, which is something that we actually did, I think, before almost all other universities. So at our university, I'm a teaching assistant for Formations of Modern Turkey, which is separated as 2 different classes, late Ottoman history and Republican era history. So this semester I was teaching assistant for the second one, and we switched immediately to the online system, just 1 week before the other universities switched. So that was a good opportunity for us to practice it. And then when the order came, we were ready for everything. And we kept the things going. The classes, as I'm on my thesis, I had no classes, so I was mostly online just teaching. Checking the quizzes, the response papers, the exams, the normal things that we are supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's kind of different, but it's still trying to adapt. I mean, nobody was prepared for this. So
yeah. What about Ramadan? How is going your days with Ramadan?
Well, my days with Ramadan are going as there is something called like night owl, or I don't know the real word, the word in English of that bird. So there are 2 birds: the owl that stays awake at night, and the other bird that stays awake during the day. So I changed from staying awake during day to staying awake during night. These days, I've been more productive during night mostly. So I've switched my schedule mostly. And during Ramadan, not sleeping till sahur, sleeping after Fajr then, and waking up for Dhuhr prayers, and then going on with the daily routine of classes, books reading. I mean, these things that you can do from home, no matter what. I mean, confined inside the four walls.
Oh, I see. What about Ramadan in Albania? Is there any differences between, or is there any similarities between Turkey, Ramadan in Turkey and in Albania? What would you say about that? For example, can we see people who playing drum on the road during sahur?
Yeah, this thing is, I'm not sure, as I live in the suburbs of the capital, I'm not sure about the center of it, but I remember since I was a kid, I would say like 7, 8 years old, my grandparents would wake up and fast for sahur, and I would hear the drums in the morning. So I would wake up with them since I was a little kid. And then still nowadays, yeah, you can hear them. The drums can be heard. This thing is very similar to Turkey. I mean, during the whole Ramadan, the drums are playing around for Fajr and for Iftar, for both of them actually in Albania. I think in Turkey only for Fajr, as far as I've seen around. But in Albania for both, for Fajr and for for Sahur and for Iftar, and it keeps on still. It keeps going on. And during Ramadan, the guy playing the drum comes to collect the money around the neighborhoods.
That's exactly what we are facing nowadays in Turkey as well.
The very same thing. The very same thing.
Same goes here as well. What about any specific tradition in Ramadan?
Many things are the same. Many things are different. For example, one of our specific traditions is that we make our own baklava. So usually in Turkey, the baklava, you go and buy it somewhere, but in Albania, we make our own tepsi of baklava. Our mothers prepare it 2 or 3 days before, Bayram coming. Before Eid.
Actually, this is what really same in Turkey as well. Nowadays we cannot see lots of people, especially who are living in their specific homes, cannot properly make any special baklava, as you said. But as some part of our culture also consists making some baklava in their home. Mashallah, it's almost similar.
Yeah, many things are very similar. Many things are very similar, actually.
Yeah. How about coronavirus in Albania? How about people's expectation, and what do you think is your government doing the right thing and to take precautions enough?
In my opinion, let's not talk about the government. Because as a political scientist, I am very much critical on that. And I would say every bad possible thing about our government in that aspect. So when it comes to coronavirus, it started before Turkey. I mean, in Albania, the disease started to be spread before Turkey. But as we have a low population and the government took extreme measures, after it started, it is kind of curbed. We, in general, we have around 1,000 something cases in total. Very little compared, to Turkey, of course, but remembering here that our population is little and the possibility of it to spread is a little bit less than in Turkey. But also our government has been kind of more restrictive than in Turkey. For example, in Turkey, if we had the restriction only during the weekend, in Albania, this restriction has been going on every day since 2 months. So it was relieved just 3 days ago, but the restrictions have been bigger than than in Turkey. So it's kind of has curbed it, but same thing in Albania. I mean, there have been some irresponsible people who go around to visit their families, their parents, and so on, and pass the disease to them. Go to the burial and pass the disease to the people participating there. So even we had a member of parliament who actually got the disease because somebody died and somebody else came from Italy, because the disease into Albania was imported from Italy, from people, Albanian people in Italy, when they were coming to see their families. So that's how it spread mostly to Albania. And yeah, we have managed to curb it. I mean, the daily infections are not very high. It fluctuates somewhere between 10 to 20 a day. The deaths have been little, I mean around 30, something like that. But nevertheless, as I said, I mean, this has been due to extensive restrictions. Something good, I think. But it could have even been prevented beforehand. I mean, if some better measures had been taken before it spread in Albania. Once it became very obvious in Italy, I mean, there are around probably 700,000 Albanians in Italy. So government should have taken better measures at that time, but yeah. And with the restrictions means that the mosques are closed, everything is closed during these days. Until, as I said, 3-4 days ago, when they decided to open things up, almost everything was closed. I mean, the mosques, the churches, shopping centers, except for foodstuff stores, everything else was closed.
Yeah, inshallah, as a general perspective, as a international citizens, we all deal with that kind of coronavirus 19. Inshallah, if we do organize, if we are able to organize international gatherings, then we'll much more easier cope with that situation, inshallah.
Inshallah. Also, there has been a lot of help from Turkey. And even our Prime Minister, you know, I'm kind of too much opposing him. But what he said is that even if the world falls apart, Turkey will not abandon us. Like Erdogan will not abandon us. Turkey will not abandon us.
Inshallah.
So yeah, just a few days later, actually, Turkey sent 6 fully equipped ambulances. Also, they sent quite a lot of, medical aid, the gloves and the uniforms for the medics and the masks and things like that. They're sending quite a lot. So, I mean, with these things, it's enough for Albania to cover, because as I said, the population is not that big and the needs are not as much as they can be in Turkey or in other places. But still, alhamdulillah, I mean, it has been a big problem because the prices have increased and stuff. Food prices have increased back in Albania and stuff. But more or less, it has been successful, I would say, in keeping the numbers low. Even if we compare to other Balkan countries, especially Macedonia, I mean, the numbers have been like double or triple higher than in Albania.
I see.
So we have been lucky on that.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, then we can say Turkey is bigger than Turkey.
Definitely. I mean, Turkey has sent aid not only to Albania, but all around in Balkans. I mean, they have sent even more, actually more than in Albania, they have sent in Macedonia, because the needs have been more there. Or in Kosovo, they have sent quite more help than in Albania, because of course the needs have been bigger there than here, than back in Albania. Yeah. But definitely, Turkey is bigger than Turkey. And if we see in the political aspects, this kind of soft power policy is kind of pretty fruitful, I would say.
Yeah, of course. Actually, this is also part of our historical duty to help all the nation size.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in Balkans, there are many times kind of theses of neo-colonialism, neo-Ottomanism and stuff like that. I mean, that in general, people who kind of dislike Turkey or dislike Turkish history or Ottoman Empire or Turkey being a Muslim country, these are things that are spread by such people. That saying that, look, Turkey is trying to come back to invade the Balkans, to become a new neo-Ottoman Empire and stuff. But like these are, in my opinion, these are like stupid things, because nowadays Turkey is trying to diversify its, politics, its relations with the other countries to improve them. And Balkans have been closed until 1990s. So of course, once the Balkans are open, Turkey is trying to open itself with new fronts, new countries too. So it's not something related to neo-Ottomanism, but it's something to diversify your international relations with different countries.
Yeah, and inshallah this will help to reduce anti-Turkish propagandas in there and in all around the world.
Definitely, it can help quite a lot. Well, just one thing that I'm kind of critical to Turkey in that aspect is the PR. The public relations of Turkey are quite okay.
Yeah.
So Turkish public relations kind of selling what Turkey is doing back in Albania or in the Balkans is quite weak, I would say. Because, you know, I often read the TIKA reports or many other reports of what Turkey is doing back in Albania, and compared to what Turkey really is telling the Albanian public of what Turkey is doing is very, very little, I see. Because I read the report, in just 1 year there have been hundreds of activities, and then I check the news, is there any report of these activities in the news or online media or stuff, and you see almost nothing. So this is something that Turkey can improve on. But other than that, I mean, Turkey has been working quite a lot. But if we see into the political aspect, is doing a lot, but not selling it to the public, what is doing.
I see. Inshallah, we'll see the better relationship with all together.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So I'm receiving some questions in the comments.
Yeah.
One of the questions that, you know, as Albanians, as I've said, one of the guys is asking, Erdoğan is good or bad? That is the question.
Of course, the best.
The best. Well, I mean, if I was to answer that question, Erdoğan is the leader of a country, so you can never be a good guy or a bad guy as long as you are the leader of that country. I mean, as a leader of the country, you are going to try to do everything good possible for your own country. And whatever you can do for your own country, that's it. I mean, you are going to help the other countries do as much as you can, but priority of everything is your own country. And Erdoğan actually has proved that he is over this. He is not only for his own country, but actually he is for humanity all around. And this can be shown, I mean, especially during coronavirus times, I mean, as expanding of politics and relations into many other countries. I mean, sending aid not only to small countries, but even to big countries like Italy, Spain, UK, United States. Let's see if he will send aid to Russia too, inshallah. Because now it seems like the data shows that Russia is the next exploding country.
Yeah, as you said, he's not just a leader, but also he's a hope for all humanity. Inshallah, we'll see better.
That's how he is seen.
Our leader and all our history and all the better one. By the way, I have 4 or 5 questions.
Sure.
Came from our audience before we came to online. The first question I'd like to start with, what's the meaning of living in Istanbul for you?
Well, the person who asked that should have asked, what is the meaning of living in Fatih for you? As for me, there is no Istanbul except Fatih.
No.
You know, as I said before, I mean, having done a double major in history and, you know, studied quite a little bit on Ottoman Empire and stuff, for me, Fatih is what is the real spirit of Istanbul. To some extent, Üsküdar also, but this triangle also, if we might say Beyoğlu to some extent, the region around Beyoğlu. This triangle is actually what Istanbul was, and to much extent continues to be. I mean, the historical place, the old ancient Constantinople, and the Ottoman Istanbul. And I really enjoy. I mean, I did the most possible to stay in Fatih, and here I am. I mean, staying in Fatih, and I really enjoy it because everywhere you go, you are learning something new. I mean, if you go to a street, you see a new historical site, probably a tomb, probably a tekke, probably a column, or okay. Sorry, my mobile fell. So you get to see many historical places, and that's quite interesting and entertaining too. I mean, having read about history, and I get to read more and to see more. I mean, what are common things about this and that? And one detail that I got surprised pretty much is about the there's in front, just opposite the Shehzade Jami, there's another mosque there, 18 Sekban Jami, or graves, I think. So there are 18 shahids from Mehmet Fatih time who entered there, died there, and got buried there when they were, conquering Istanbul or Constantinople, liberating it that time. So interestingly enough, during the coup d'etat attempt on 15th July, in front of at Istanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi, 17 people died, got killed, and one died in the hospital. So in total, again, 18 people got killed, which is very surprising. I mean, a similarity between that fact and the notorious, I would say, coup d'etat attempt. I mean, fortunately, so both of them can be considered as shahids of Feth back at that time and the modern ones. Quite interesting details. I mean, I got surprised with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So as I said, Istanbul itself, Fatih, probably Üsküdar to very much extent, or Beyoğlu as a region, is quite interesting. I mean, just yesterday, I was reading a journal, Albanian journal of 1920s, 30s, saying about Albanian, a guy called Haji Ismail Aga, an Albanian guy, who was very rich, that had his houses, his sarais, many properties in Beyoğlu and in front of Sultan Ahmet. So it's quite interesting, I mean, to see back in history the Albanians that were living here. I mean, even the apartment that I'm living right now, it was built by an Albanian guy who came here like 70 years ago or something like that. So there are quite a lot of connections. Yeah,
then I'd like to ask to that question is that what's the most memorable thing or most memorable
about Istanbul?
Yeah, about Istanbul and about, especially you ask you about Fatih.
Well, about Istanbul, I would say is that before coming to Turkey, there was these Albanian friends who were saying that we used like keyf or fun is big, but Istanbul is bigger than fun. So this is the Istanbul case. And we have an expression in Albanian that you say, by asking, you can find Istanbul. But I added another expression here. Inside Istanbul, you get lost. Yeah. So when I first came in Istanbul, I swear that I really got lost. Back at the time, I didn't have quite a smartphone or map or something, GPS to go around. So during the weekend, I would go like 3-4 hours and get lost around Istanbul, learn new places, new streets, new stuff, which is like quite, something that you don't have the chance back in Albania. Even in Tirana, I mean, you can go from one corner to another corner within 1 hour. But in Istanbul, I mean, 1 hour by car, you cannot go from one corner to another corner, which is one of the things, I mean.
Even sometimes you cannot change to one district to another district.
Yeah, I'm not saying about the traffic, I'm saying without traffic.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to go on the second question, which we got from our audience before coming to online. How is quite about of education in İbn-i Haldun? As you said, you are lectured there. And you are doing your master there.
One of the things that should be first noted about Ibn Haldun is that it's a new university. And being a new university has both its chances and also its setbacks. Its chances is that you have more open places, in the aspect that you have more opportunities to get accepted, to study. You have new faces, new professors. That's something. Also, one of the good things is that Ibn Haldun University has kind of gathered kind of top quality professors from various other universities or various think tanks or various places. So the quality of the teaching staff is quite high. Of course, there are the other setbacks that it's new university, so it's trying to create and construct its own identity, to create and construct its own system, which are things that cannot be done within, a few seconds or a few years. It will take time. I mean, like normally for it to settle, it can take up to 10 years in its own campus. Even now it's like a rented campus, but once the new campus is finished building, I think it can take up to 10 years in order to settle down first. And then in order to blossom, I think it can take like 20, 25 years. I mean, Ibn Haldun University philosophy is like, they want to prepare more Muslim intellectuals who are mostly focused on graduate studies. So masters and PhD studies. The numbers of bachelor students and graduate students are almost equal there. So the focus is more on the graduate studies. So that can be a good opportunity for those who want to follow graduate studies. But also, as I said, I mean, professors are very qualitative, be it in bachelors, be it in other, masters or PhD. And of course, professors are very helpful in that aspect. I mean, one of the things that I liked about education in Turkey, this is probably, I've been in private universities, if we might say so, is that professors are very close to students. They are kind of very much friendly. They sit with you, they chat with you, they invite you for tea, for coffee, which is quite a good thing. Back in Albania, it is very difficult to catch a professor. To sit with him, to have a coffee or something with him, it's quite difficult. I mean, the only opportunity you can get to have such thing is if he is your relative, your cousin or something, him, and you can get family contacts with him and sit with him. Other than that, they do not care really much about students, which is different thing that I have faced here in Turkey.
I see. Then, as we just 10 minutes left and our president just reminded us, I'd like to go for we have two more questions. Please, if I do wrong, pronunciate the word as Shiptar. How you interpret in Turkey and Balkan relations? And could you describe Shiptar? What does what?
So that is another thing that has its historical value also. So Shiptar is how we call ourselves in Albanian language. So Ship is our language, Shqipëri is our country, Shiptar is the people who live in Albania. Now we have three different names in different languages. So in Albanian we are Shiptar, in English we are Albanian, in Turkish we are Arnavut. So these are different things. Interestingly enough, there are many reasons, or various explanations about the word Arnavut. I mean, this is a word that comes from Ottoman Empire times. Some Albanian explanations say that this is a pejorative word that the Turks used against Albanians to say as bad people and so on. But the most accurate explanation so far is that this comes from kind of Arabic. That means the people who do not show their back in war. So during Ottoman Empire, Albanians were known to be, very strong people, warrior-like people. So they were used around to liberate different and difficult regions and territories. So that's how it comes, according to most serious sources. So Albanian Arnaut in this case means that Albanian people who do not turn their back to the enemy when they are at war, which is very interesting. I mean, even for Turkish people to know it. So coming back to the relations, well, Turkey has very good relations, I would say, with Balkan countries, has tried to maintain very much friendly relations with Balkan countries to very much extent. The point is how the Balkan countries see Turkey. Well, this is something that changes over time. As I said, if you do a poll in 1990s, Albanians would say that we hate Turkey. But if you do a poll now, then the digits would definitely change. The Albanians are more fond of Turkey or Turkish people, or other countries in Balkans are more fond of Turkish people. So if you say, are Albanians in Kosovo, Macedonia, or Albania, which ones like Turkey more? I would say that Albanians in Kosovo and Macedonia love Turkey more than Albanians in Albania. But things, started to change with Turkish, approachness towards the Albanian more and more, and so on. And there are quite a lot of investments, Turkish investments in Balkans. especially in Albania. I know quite a lot of them. And Turkey has tried to maintain a peaceful role in the Balkans. For example, Turkey has tried to keep kind of good relations both with Bosnians and with the Serbians, trying to mediate in Bosnia between them. Also, when it comes to the Balkans, with Albanians, with Kosovo, with Macedonia, so it has tried to kind of maintain very friendly relations and to benefit, of course, from them. There has been, I think, no case of difficulty that Turkey has not helped the Balkan countries, which is a good thing to improve the Turkish role and image in the countries. And of course, many times it is seen as Turkey interfering in the Balkans. I mean, as said again, as neo-Ottomanism and stuff, but these are descriptions which I don't think that stand if you are to look more into political aspects of it.
I see. Then I'd like to go into fourth questions, and one of our friends asked, "What is famous in your country?" I think it's so general question. I mean,
yeah. When you come to Turkey, the people say, when you say I'm Albanian, Arnavut, they say, "Okay, Arnavutjeri," and I'm like, "What? Arnavutjeri? We don't know it." Now that's very strange because back in Albania we don't have Arnavutjeri.
Oh, I see.
Well, with Albania, in this case, I mean political Albania. Most likely, it came from Albanians in Kosovo or Albanians in Macedonia as a food. So we don't use it very much. And yeah, we have burek, which is definitely very famous. I mean, when I'm back home, at least once a week, I have burek. When I'm here in Istanbul, I have more than once a week. But when I'm back at home, we have at least, we make it with different stuff. We make even with pumpkin. In Turkey, I haven't seen it with pumpkin, but we make burek with pumpkin. Actually, I have even tried these quarantine days. One thing that I have achieved is I've managed to make burek myself. So that is a great achievement for me.
Mashallah.
Now I can say I'm Albanian.
Then I guess it reminded you were like in Albania.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and among many other things, I mean, interesting stuff for probably for Turkish people or others can be the cars. For example, around 70% of cars in Albania is BMW or Volkswagen, which in Turkey are considered to be very expensive, but in Albania are very cheap and very strong. I mean, compared to it. Oh, Serdar Başkan is saying that Bosnian burek is better than Albanian burek.
This is a huge question to go into. Maybe it may need days of talking about that.
Definitely. One interesting, less interesting thing. Yeah, or I would say two less interesting things in order to close up that question. Besa is one word which means söz in Albanian or in Turkish translation, or given word. This is a very famous feature of Albanian people, which means that if you give the word to somebody, you make sure in every kind of possible way that you keep that word. So you can, as you know, our Islamic history, that Ibrahim tries to make Qurban his son for the sake of Allah. This Albanians kind of translate it into Albanian. If you give the word, you can even make Qurban your son for that word that you have given. So even Sultan Abdülhamid II, in his doctor memories, says that Albanians are so loyal that they have this feature of besa. When they give the word, they don't go back that word. And they have given me the besa, and they have been, very loyal to me. And this can be seen in his private, guards, they are made of Albanians and Arabs only, which is quite interesting detail.
Yeah, sure. I have one more question that we get from our audience, but you have already replied it, which was how many Muslims are living in Albania, but you've already answered.
Yeah, out of 2.8 million, around 70% of it, it's Muslims mostly. So we can say around 2 million and something.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you very much because we've just 2 minutes left. Would you like to
It's a
say
pleasure.
anything for your last sentence?
I think I would like to add Albanian mafia here. Turkish people definitely, think about that. One of my Turkish friends was saying, like, what is famous? He was saying that immediately Albanian mafia. Well, that's something even more new and more recent thing that is developed. And Albanian mafia is kind of answer of how to get rid of Albanian people being poor after 1990s. So people starting criminal stuff, going to Europe, dealing with criminal stuff, drugs, prostitution, and such things. That's how it developed as a term. It became even stronger, I would say, after this new government that we have, because they kind of closed their eyes towards the drugs. They allowed people to plant drugs and to export to Europe. Even if it is illegal, they allowed these things doing. And they kind of cooperating somehow, some ways illegally with drug dealers, hiding the drugs, helping them, getting their share, their percentage. So that's how it developed. But Albanian mafia is not that much felt in Albania. It's mostly felt in the European countries that they make it a big deal. In Albania, if you go, it's not that there is such very much organized mafia as it's to make it, something big.
Yeah, I see. Thank you very much again, Arben. Thank you very much.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.
I enjoyed really much.
Have a good day and have a good the last to Ramadan, inshallah.
Thank you very much. You too, inshallah.
Inshallah.